Greetings, dear friends. I'm Sylvia, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to join me in this short video. And these videos I make are aimed at sharing some of the understandings and the information that I've found over my 30 plus years as an international spiritual teacher, speaker, and writer have really helped empower people. And so today's topic is attitudes. It's a word that's becoming increasingly used by many other teachers and authors. And in fact, my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Bruce Lipton, made a statement which says, know that your attitudes shape the world and the body that you experience. And of course, he's not the only one, but that's a very powerful statement if you think about it. Your attitudes actually shape your experience of life and well-being. So exactly what is an attitude? Is it a belief or is it something more? Well, an attitude begins with a belief. It's a belief that you have either picked up in childhood or picked up through experiences that you've had in your life, and then it becomes weighted, if you will, and activated with emotion. That's what makes it different and more powerful than just a straight intellectual belief. And usually the emotion is based on fear and feeling powerless. At least the negative attitudes are based upon that. And so it's useful to see what attitudes you have got running in your subconscious mind, because they are going to play out in your life experience. So let me give you a couple of examples and you'll see exactly what I mean. Now, my own personal experience, let's start with that. I was born in London at the beginning of World War II. And so my experience in those first formative years of life was that money was very scarce, food was very scarce, you couldn't get clothing easily. In fact, it was a time of great fear. Now, my parents, of course, also lived through this. In fact, they lived through 2 world wars in England. And so they ran similar fear-based programs. Fear of not having enough, of scarcity, of when you could get enough food, for example, you put it by because there may not be any more available for a long time. And so this ran our lives. Now, for me, I decided when I realized this to change that belief, and I made a conscious choice. And I've actually talked about the experience in my book, The Miracle Effect. It's won 2 international awards now. And if you're interested, you can get it either straight from me on my website or on Amazon.com. But my parents sadly still ran that program. And I remember seeing it playing out because when they were later on in life, just early retired, they were asked to take over a company by a very lovely, generous man who I had also been working with. And my mother was a born businesswoman. She took over the managing, and my dad, as an accountant, took over the accounts. And so between them, they loved the work. They worked very hard and earned, for them, what for them was a lot of money in quite a reasonably short space of time, just 2 or 3 years. Now, when they retired properly from that, instead of enjoying the fruits of their labor and this money that they had put by, they still ran the program. Oh no, we'd better not spend it. We have to be careful. We have to check prices, compare prices, be prudent and frugal in what we spend. So you can see how the enjoyment that they could have had from their work, they weren't actually able to activate because of this attitude of scarcity and fear-based belief that no, you have to put money aside, you don't spend it, you don't enjoy it. So that was one example. Another one, somebody I know has an attitude based on a belief that people are not to be trusted. They're out to get her. They want to take advantage of her, and so forth. And so sadly, it's become an attitude where she's very careful with people, and as soon as there's a hint of, as she sees it, someone who is not going to be trustworthy or is going to do something to her or put her at a disadvantage, this attitude kicks in, this fear kicks in, and so she's very much on guard, and in fact sometimes creates scenarios that are not even real. Just to give you an example, she's a very beautifully creative person, and she had a lovely particular soft toy that she had made, and it was on a shelf in her wardrobe in her bedroom. And she told me the story that this toy had disappeared, and so it must have been taken by this new friend of hers who had come to visit and had gone to use the bathroom during the visit. And she thought, well, that this lady was taking rather a long time. So she thought that this new friend had gone into her bedroom as well and looked around and seen this toy and taken it. Now, some weeks later, somehow the subject came up again, and I mentioned this toy, and she said, "Oh no, actually, I found that it was still in the house." She said, "I'd had put it back in a different place." So you can see how it can color your whole life, how it can rule you, if you like, and making you feel either uh, disempowered or fearful, not trusting, whatever it might be. So it's not useful to have these negative attitudes running, because they're in your subconscious and they certainly will. So if you notice that you've got an attitude based on scarcity or fear or anything like that, have a look and see where it's from and see if you can eradicate the seed cause. And again, in my book, I give you techniques on how to do it and how to understand it. Now, the good news is that there are some attitudes which you can choose to accept and to keep active in your life that will act, as it were, as an antidote to any negative ones that may be lurking in your subconscious. Now, I call them my A list. There are 7 of them, and they all begin with A, as it happens. And what they do is enable you to take your power back. For example, did you know that you can choose to accept or allow whatever you want to be your life experience, whatever you want to have in your life, or conversely, what you don't want to have in your life? Just as an example, I use the attitude that I refuse to allow an old person in this body, because aging is another attitude that's very, very detrimental to a lot of people. Society in general seems to suggest, and so people take this on board because they haven't realized that it is a choice, that because you reach a certain number of years and thereafter, then you can expect ill health or aches and pains or slowing down, or I hear people say, "Oh, I'm getting so forgetful, memory," and so forth. Now, a lot of the time, this need not be the case. And so, for example, as an antidote, my attitude is that I'm always happy and grateful, and I repeat it many times, regularly, most days, for my perfect mental acuity and memory, and for my perfectly healthy, functioning body, my abundant energy, vitality, and stamina, and so forth. So, in other words, focus on what you do want, and don't let the aging attitude take over. So these are just some examples that are out there. And if you would like to understand my A lists that you can activate, that is an antidote, as it were, watch my series of videos that I will be following this one with. Or if you would like it as a printed version, I've also written it as a wee booklet, my A-list of attitudes. And all you have to do is to hop over to my website, and here's my website, www.sylviavowles.com, and there you'll see there's an opt-in at the top with a lovely little magenta coloured booklet of this A-list. And so all you have to do is to send your email there, and you will receive the written form of my A-list of positive, empowering attitudes. And the other bonus of opting in there too is that you will receive a monthly newsletter from me in which I include all sorts of extra goodies and information and empowering tips, if you will, that I have found along the way. Now, often this information I don't actually share anywhere else except through my keeping in touch emailers. So if you would like to be on that list, just as I say, go over to sylviavowles.com and let me know where to send these emails. And as I say, I don't flood your inbox. Once a month is my newsletter. So I trust that this has been useful to you, and do be mindful of your attitudes, your expectations, and watch the fear. If the attitude's a good one, empowering, you'll feel uplifted and positive, and as I say, empowered. So this is Sylvia Vowles. Thank you for joining me, signing off, and watch out now for my series that are videos that will follow this one, where I'll be going through these 7 A-list activations. Blessings to you.